Okay, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about one of the toughest parts of academic life, writing a research paper. But we're looking at it in a totally new way, how you can build your very own AI toolkit to make the whole process smarter and, yeah, a whole lot faster. If you've ever had to write a research paper, this quote probably hits pretty close to home. You know the feeling, right? The long nights, the endless cycle of revisions, that feeling of being completely buried under a mountain of PDFs. It's a struggle we all go through. But what if you could streamline all of the boring, repetitive parts of that process? What if you could spend less time on the grunt work and more time on the stuff that actually matters, the thinking, the discovery? Well, that's the big promise we're digging into today. Now, here's the absolute key. You have to stop thinking of AI as some kind of magic author that's going to do the work for you. It's not. Instead, think of it as a set of specialized power tools. Each tool is designed for a very specific job, and together they make the whole project smoother and way less draining. And that brings us to the single biggest mistake people make. They open up a chat window and they type, "Write me a paper on..." The source material just nails it with this analogy. That's like asking a treadmill to run a marathon for you. The real power comes from using AI in a much more strategic, targeted way. So let's start where most papers begin, and honestly, where most of our time just seems to disappear: the literature review. This is the first place where AI can really help you start to tame that massive pile of existing research. Here is a workflow that is a total game changer. First, you start with your main question. Then ask an AI to brainstorm keyword families for you. Think synonyms, related concepts, even what an angry reviewer might search for. Use an AI search tool to narrow down the papers, and then a PDF explainer to pull out the key findings quickly. And the last step, seriously, do not skip this. Get everything into your reference manager right away. Your future self is going to thank you. Look, AI summaries are a fantastic starting point. But this slide has a super important warning. Relying only on a summary without ever looking at the paper yourself, it's like trusting a movie review from a friend instead of just watching the movie. You're getting a secondhand story, and you're missing all the crucial details. All right, next up, we're moving on to what might be the single most powerful way to use AI in this entire process, and that is building your outline. We're not just talking about structure here, we're talking about building a rock-solid argument before you even write one sentence of the actual paper. The source material is not messing around with this, and I 100% agree. If you only take one piece of advice from this entire explainer, make it this one. Using AI to help structure your thoughts is like adding rocket fuel to your writing. It just makes getting started so much easier. And this slide just shows you the night and day difference. On the left, you've got that generic structure. Intro, methods, results, conclusion. It's a house of cards. But on the right, that's an AI-assisted outline. It's a real blueprint for your argument. It makes you spell out your central claim, your evidence, and even what the counterarguments are. It builds that all-important so what factor right into the foundation. Okay, so you've got your sources, you've got this killer outline. Now you actually have to write the thing. And this is where a lot of people get pretty nervous. How do you use AI to help with the writing itself without sounding like a robot and losing your own voice? Here's a fantastic little trick for that. First, you just write a messy, rough draft paragraph. Get your ideas down in your own words. Then you ask the AI for a few different versions of it. Maybe one that's more concise, one that's more formal, and one that's just more readable. Finally, you become the editor. You pick and choose the best bits, polish the final version, and rehumanize it so it sounds like you. All right. We're in the home stretch now. The draft is written. It's time for those final steps that take a good paper and make it a publishable one. Polishing the language and making sure your citations are perfect. AI-powered editing tools are awesome at a few very specific things. They can hunt down any accidental slang you left in there. They can untangle those sentences that go on forever. They're also great at spotting when you've used the same word too many times. And, this is a big one, flagging claims that look like they might need a citation. But here's a huge warning. You have to watch out for something the source calls confidence inflation. An AI editor might take a careful phrase you wrote, like, "this may suggest," and turn it into a bold statement like, "this proves." That's a massive change in meaning. So you always have to double check that the AI is preserving your intended level of certainty. So, we've covered a lot of the how-to, but the most important part of using these tools well isn't about any specific app. It's about a fundamental shift in your mindset. And this slide just says it all. The trap is thinking of AI as a magical author that does the work. The winning strategy is seeing it as a set of power tools. You use them for specific jobs, you treat everything they give you as a suggestion, and you, the human researcher, are always the one to verify every single claim. So what should you actually look for in a tool? This checklist is basically your guide. You want traceability. Can you see where the info came from? You need controllability. Can you steer it? Does it know how to use an academic voice? Is it going to invent sources? And maybe most importantly, does it actually fit into the way you already work? I absolutely love this analogy from the source material. Use AI like salt, not souk. A little bit used in the right places makes the whole dish better. But you would never, ever make a meal out of just salt. It's an ingredient, not the main course. And let's end on this. It's a bit of a spicy take, but it's so true. The goal isn't to find the AI with the most features or the most power. The best tool for you is the one that fits into your process so well that it just reduces your stress, the one that leaves you feeling calmer. That is the real win. Look, AI is an incredibly powerful assistant, but you are still the researcher. And that brings us to a final question to really think about. As these tools get more and more woven into our work, what is the one core task, the real heart of your scholarship, that you will always keep for yourself?